Well, good morning, everyone. This is Ed Condon. I'm with the Region 9 Head Start Association. I'm so glad that you are with us this morning. I am going to attempt to both watch the chat as well as watch the screen here. So as we go through this webinar, please feel free to chat with me and let me know your thoughts on things. I'm joined this morning by the staff here at the Region 9 Head Start Association with Alejandra and with Fernando, who both assist us in the Leadership Challenge for Head Start program that we run. So thanks to them for their support getting this webinar organized. I'm also very pleased to see this morning we have joining us people from really across the country, which is always fun. It's one of the blessings of COVID is that we can reach across the boundaries that we typically work within. So we have folks here from Michigan and Texas and Arizona, Kentucky, West Virginia, Florida, and of course, California. We are located at the Region 9 Head Start office in Sacramento, California. But this webinar, which typically is done in the face-to-face format here in the West. We have done the workshop in Southern California, Northern California, Arizona, and in Hawaii. But during COVID and probably beyond, we'll continue to do the Leadership Challenge in the virtual environment. As I say, my name is Ed Condon, and I'm the executive director with the Region 9 Association. Previously, I had worked with the National Head Start Association, and then for about 9 years was the director with Head Start California. Since 2000, I've really been committed to the Head Start community in my work as an advocate, and really seeking the opportunities to elevate the skills of the Head Start community, as I know your work is so essential in supporting children and families in our local communities. Since 2014, I have been working with the Leadership Challenge curriculum and continue to work on that each and every year through my own professional development. I'm excited that you're interested in this curriculum. I think you will find it a valuable asset in the work that you do, regardless of your role. If you're a coach in a program, if you're an HR director, if you're an agency director, if you're a site director or a classroom teacher or a teacher associate, the Leadership Challenge has something for each one of you. It's important to share at the front, we do these courses which are typically 2-day, full day in person, or 4-day in the virtual environment. We do these courses both for a public course, which means it's open enrollment to anyone who registers, or we do it on contract. So we have agencies such as the Tulare County Office of Education or Kids Community who have hired us to come in and do their entire staff. Also, Crystal Stairs in Los Angeles, we did a contract course. So you can be involved with the Head Start Leadership Challenge either by registering for one of our courses or by contracting for the course. So let's jump into the Head Start the Leadership Challenge so I can give you a little bit more information on how that course operates and make sure that you are familiar enough to go deeper. So I'd love to begin this webinar with one of my favorite quotes from our authors. And I really think this quote gives both the spirit of the workshop that we hold, as well as insight into the soul of the curriculum. Leadership is the art of mobilizing others to want to struggle for shared aspirations. Leadership is the art of mobilizing others to want to struggle for shared aspirations. I love that quote, and I think you see the highlights there that really emphasize some of my personal philosophy and why I feel so well matched to the Leadership Challenge and why I think it's so well matched to Head Start. And first is that leadership is not a scientific process. Yes, there is great evidence and great research, and there are effective practices to be known. But we also recognize that leadership develops over time. Leadership, we saw it yesterday in places such as the inauguration, and we see it every day in our classrooms. Leadership is an art form. It appears to us in different ways. For some, leadership is the tone they set with their words or the culture they manage with their role modeling. Leadership might also be how which they conduct their personal selves. So leadership appears in different ways, and it is about moving forward. We know that credible leaders look forward. We see that in almost all the evidence of what leadership really matters, is that looking forward, that honest, that accountability. And yes, leadership is about mobilizing others to struggle. And struggle's, a word that might feel awkward, but struggle really is what we do. If we're learning a sport, if we're learning an instrument, if we're learning to speak a language, we struggle at first. We begin at a point, and then through practice, through self-reflection, through input of others, maybe through coaching, we become better. And that's true whether it's swimming or piano or leadership. It takes practice. It takes the willingness to struggle openly. And this last part here, this for shared aspirations. And of course, we know that in Head Start as a core to our identity. We share the aspirations that every child who's born with a hope and a belief in a tomorrow. And so we share those aspirations with the parents, with our coworkers, with the communities that we support. And here in the Leadership Challenge workshop, shared aspirations, validated and understood through a values clarification, is really how we move forward. So again, I think you'll find the Leadership Challenge a course that will fit well with wherever you are in your Head Start journey. So I'm going to ask Alejandra to go ahead and launch a poll if she would. And so I've got a question for you. Based on your role today, where you are in your organizations, what are your leadership priorities? Choose one to build trust. Maybe you're working to increase collaboration among units. Maybe you're an agency leader or a site leader and you're trying to share a vision, a view of the community you serve or the broader effort. Maybe your job as a coach to build teamworks and to build culture and collaboration amongst groups who are working toward a more impactful service. Maybe your job is to help others to grow in their role as a coach or a supervisor or as a mentor of some sort. Maybe you're working on yourself. Maybe you are trying to seek that self-evaluation, that self-insight, self-awareness. Give folks a few more minutes. We've got about half of you in, about 60% have responded, so we'll let that roll up to about 75%. And you can see here, the reason we raise these various roles, questions, is that people approach leadership at different points in time. And it's essential that as we begin the workshop, we recognize that everyone's in a unique and different place. So Alejandra, we'll go ahead and end the poll. Excellent, interesting split. So you can see here on your screen that for most of you, kind of an even split actually, for about 23% of you, almost a quarter, it's about team building, helping others to create that sense of team, that sense of unity. And of course, during COVID, we know that's an especially difficult challenge because our teams are often remote or working in different settings. For about 25% of you, 33, it's helping others to grow in their roles. So you must be a coach or a director or a leader of some sort. You may have responsibility for lifting up that emerging leader in your organization, whether that emerging leader is coming from the teaching side of the house, the education services, or from the allied services. We know that it takes a broad effort to support our children and families. There you go. You should be able to see the results now. There we go. Let me know in the chat if you can't see the results. And then the last 23% or another quarter of you, there you go. It's developing your individual strengths. And that's, of course, where I think the big work is done. In developing your individual strengths, you're being accountable for the impact that you have on the others in your circle of influence, whether that be a site or in your family or in any other place that you exercise leadership. So moving forward, just to affirm, the Leadership Challenge workshop, it's really grounded in attendee data and evidence, meaning that there is a course framework and there is a curriculum that we will work through. But what's most essential in the leadership workshop is the sharing, is the collaboration, and the comparing. The idea that you each bring a unique place, whether that's to develop yourself or developing a team, the evidence, the data that you bring is uniquely you, and your willingness to share and collaborate with others is essential. We do use peer-to-peer and small group reflections. So through the workshop, we have breakout spaces, and we also encourage meetups around the homework on particular exercises. It's always a little bit more difficult in the virtual space, but we continue to support that peer-to-peer exchange through monthly emails to our network and through questions, and encouraging you to review and revisit your materials. We also offer, with the virtual setting, coaching as a follow-up to each of the sessions. So on each of the 4 days of the virtual sessions, there is a facilitator's hour. So you can be in the facilitator's office hours to raise questions, as well as to set up coaching calls after the workshop completes. And then lastly, experiential learning, meaning hands-on, where we try to go further with thinking about our work, not just in what we hear and what we see, but working with our hands and verbalizing our learning. The Leadership Challenge workshop is divided into 5 practice areas, and I'd like to spend just a minute talking about the curriculum so that you're familiar with it. The first area and sort of foundational area is modeling the way, or model the way. In that area, we explore what is the impact of your values, what is the impact of your relationship as others see you. There we explore, as I say, values, and we explore the connections of your actions with others and how those behaviors are experienced in the work that you do or in the observations of others see you. Second, we move toward inspire a shared vision. And there we really look at the mechanics of vision. We look at how we infuse our values from the first course into the inspire a shared vision. So that vision, that values to vision model is discussed, practiced, and the exercises really help to bring life through understanding the mechanics of vision, what it means to bring your values to life. And it is one of the areas that we spend a good amount of time, because most of us in our work don't think about elevating our work into those structures. And so we talk about storytelling, and we talk about how we can provide others with an inspiring view of what the work is, what our role is as well in the work. The third module is challenge the process. And in challenge the process, we really look at reasons why challenges arise in our work, and what is it that might hold us back from accomplishing the work that we're about. So we look at areas such as where we may come up short in our collaboration with others, or how does trust sabotage sometimes or lift up our willingness to take small risks, to create small pilot efforts and so forth. We also then move forward in the fourth area into enabling others to act. And enable others to act, we really think about the impact of powerlessness, and powerfulness, the concept of power. We look at how our approach toward others through control and through permission gives them the chance to succeed, or may hold them back and disable them from accomplishing their goals. We then move into our fifth area, which actually is woven throughout the course, and that is to encourage the heart. And encourage the heart is really about how do we celebrate the individual accomplishments of the individuals who we lead and wherever they sit with us. And we also look at the science of celebrating and encouraging the heart and the importance of really working from a place of love. It's awkward sometimes to say the word love in our work, but we know that in our hearts, we often do love the people we work with, and we do love the work that we do. Sometimes love is left out of that. And of course, in our workshop, we talk about love because it's there that we know that fear is set aside, we fully are embracing the work, and our passions for the impacts that we wish to have are most expressed. The Leadership Challenge Workshop uses the Leadership Practices Inventory as a tool for self-reflection and observation of others. This is a part of the pre-work and is best set up and accomplished about 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks prior to the actual workshop. If you are one of the individuals who is planning to attend our February workshop, which, by the way, I did discover this morning is full. We have begun scheduling a March workshop for the very same dates. You'll want to have this work going on now. If you're enrolled for February, you should be conducting your LPI. Now, the LPI is a tool that the authors created quite a long time ago, but continue to update through research and evidence on a regular basis. They refresh the Leadership Practices Inventory regularly and provide coaching to those who facilitate the course to understand how the behaviors are best being understood by those who interact with the tool. The Leadership Practices Inventory is about self-discovery. So first, you will take the inventory on yourself, rating on the 30 behaviors your frequency of practice. You'll also enlist up to 8 others to provide you with observations. We love to have a manager provide an observation, subordinates or those who report to you, as well as coworkers. And I encourage also, if there's a volunteer role, if there's a place where you've been working hard that you believe really has a place of excellence for you in your leadership journey, we invite you to encourage observations to come in from colleagues in those settings as well. An LPI with a full 360 evaluation, as I say, leads to self-discovery as you do it. It provides you information that has others see you through self-awareness. And then, of course, it leads you to self-development. The Leadership Practices Inventory is key to take and to have ready to go for the course. So that's why we do really insist that folks get moving with that early on in their enrollment. And of course, I think you'll find it quite useful once you're in the course. In addition to the Leadership Practices Inventory, we do have a few other small assignments that are required that we like you to have ready because the course does move quickly, such as there's an exercise called My Personal Best, which will be you journaling about an experience you had where you really felt that your values were best expressed through an action you took. We also ask you to journal a bit about your current leadership challenge so that during the course, you can share with others in those peer-to-peer and small group discussions a place, an area, or an aspect of your work that may be difficult. And then, of course, we have other activities that go on during the course, but those 2 are the main items along with the Leadership Practices Inventory that are essential to do upfront before the course. I did mention about the evaluators, as I said, we like you to have about 8. You can operate the course with as few as 4. It's enough data to get you started, but 8 is really quite a sweet spot. We see some folks who will invite 10, 12, and then they'll have maybe 7 or 8 actually complete the evaluation. The evaluations do take about 20 minutes to do. So when someone does complete a evaluation on you on the LPI, it really is quite a commitment of time and investment in you. As we say, the Leadership Challenge course currently in the virtual environment is 4 days. It's a 2-hour lecture with the activities, and then of course the coaching sessions that follow. Within those 4 days, 2 hours a day, we do the reflections, a small group, the hands-on experience, action planning, and as I mentioned, the post training coaching that goes on. The materials that you receive for the workshop include the 6th edition of the Leadership Challenge, the participants workbook, of course, the data from your LPI, and a few other items that we send out with each of the course participations. So who's attended the course over the last few years? As I said, I've been doing this course since 2014, and I've done it at both the national level as well as within the Western region here. And I find that in some of my courses, I've had senior leadership teams. So I'll have a group of 7 or 8 who are committed to that in their year. And they find that valuable because they're all starting off at the same place and beginning to learn together, kind of like a book club experience. I've also had emerging managers and program partners, so agencies who are really trying to onboard community partners to share their values and their vision may supply them with this training because it helps those individuals to become clear on what their values, their vision, and how they are going to collaborate in the future. We also know this course fits individuals who are seeking to renew. So someone who is experienced or well-established, but who really wants to stop and revisit where they sit in this leadership journey. For all of us, as we say, it's an art, it's a journey, it's an ongoing practice. I know for myself, there are days that I'm better in one practice area than the other. Maybe it's because of the challenge that's in front of me, or it's simply the pace of the work. So we're all in different places, and sometimes within our organizations, we're in different strengths as we go along. So it's great to revisit the content and think about how to rebalance to ensure that those things we want to be frequently observed are. And then, as I say, organizations who are seeking a shared framework, whether it be Crystal Stairs or Tulare County or Kids Community, in those settings, by bringing entire teams in, it allows a workforce of 100 or 200 to have a shared vocabulary around leadership. So as they take the course, they learn these words such as model the way and inspire a shared vision and values and so forth. And so as we go through the work in these contract courses, we also know that it helps with organizations to come together so that whether you're a teacher assistant or the agency executive director, you have a framework from to draw from. And I know the feedback that I've received from programs often validates that in doing that work together, they felt it deeper and more able to sustain it the months going forward. So a couple quick comments, testimonials from some past attendees. Judy Cashel, one of my favorite education coordinators from Pacific Clinics Head Start, very beneficial to have live data, that's the LPI, as feedback to analyze and reflect on. And Judy's a well-established Head Start director and knows it well. So seeing her take interest in leadership well into her career is inspiring. And then we have Doreen De La Cruz from King's Community Action. I enjoyed the activities that made us think outside the box. This course made us think how we can improve ourselves. I love the thought that we're always kind of looking, in particular, outside the box, or outside is what we refer to it during the course, where really it's not just about how you do it or how your unit does it or how you've always done it, but how can you do it more effectively, more authentically? How can you do it in a manner with more credibility? So those are the pursuits of the course. Now, in my travels with the Leadership Challenge, I had the great pleasure, and I often refer to research within the course. And so Sandra Gonzalez, Dr. Gonzalez, joined me last week to talk about her research. She's with the Garvey School District in the Los Angeles County area. And so I want to play for you a video clip of Dr. Gonzalez. Alejandra, go ahead and play the clip.
I got into the Leadership Challenge during my doctorate program. But prior to that, so I've been working with Head Start since 2007. And during my tenure with Head Start, was able to work with many different programs and was able to see as a compliance monitor at one point during that time, just the importance that leadership had on the quality of service delivery and also overall morale. I saw there was a gap in the literature. So there's a lot of research on leadership with principals, leadership in higher education and so forth, but not much in terms of leadership in preschool or Head Start. When I read Coos and Posner's Leadership Challenge, there was something about it. And so I researched and I researched even more and felt that this was really something that could be applied to Head Start. And so my dissertation was specifically looking at the application of the Leadership Challenge in Head Start. So my study was a qualitative study where I was able to interview different directors as well as teachers, because I was really interested in learning about the perceptions of those of current Head Start leaders and practitioners, as well as the perceptions of the instructional staff in terms of how they defined leadership. And what I found was just how the 5 practices that Coos and Posner referred to can be applicable in Head Start. And so that's what really drew in terms of me being able to research and apply it. And now, as a current practitioner, I am able to apply that on a day-to-day basis in terms of the work that I do. The concept of leadership in the classroom is sometimes not something that is really thought of, but I think that being able to speak to that and to have our instructional staff be able to see that they are instructional leaders, that the work they do on a day-to-day basis, it is leadership, and how leadership exists at every level. It might just look a little different. But what I have found is that with the Leadership Challenge, the 5 practices are the manner in which you apply them. It's something that can be applied at every level. It's very sophisticated, but in very simple terms. And so what I have found when I was speaking to the instructional staff that were part of my study, that not everyone sees themselves as a leader in the classroom setting. And when we had more dialogue and more conversation and talked about the 5 practices, went over the adapted version of the LPI, there was that aha moment in terms of how leadership does exist at that level, but also understanding overall leadership and some of the qualities that were very important. And what I was able to see from my findings was just how it applies to every single practice. We know that we provide school readiness services, that we provide integrated services, but what is our end goal? And so what I have found in my experience as a practitioner is us being able to start with the why, which is the vision. Why are we all here? And regardless of our position or what title we have, that we all play an integral, very important part in being able to accomplish that goal. And so what I have found is that being able to have that conversation where we all know, we all share that same common goal. And so, you often hear, begin with the end in mind. And so we all know in Head Start what the end is, what we really ultimately want. But that's really part of the vision. And I think that sometimes when you ask, okay, so what is our vision? It can become something very big and a bit overwhelming. But I think once we really start to dig into a little bit more and really the why, I think that staff are able to say, oh, okay, yes, I know that's what my purpose is. I feel that leadership will be more than ever just so important. We're at just such an evolving and interesting times right now. And I think that leadership is going to be so important in terms of being able to continue to fulfill the vision. That, what are we here for? And being able to meet families where they're at, despite all of the adversity and all of the challenges they're experiencing, challenge the process. And that really talks about us being able to challenge ourselves, to be able to see these challenges as opportunities. And I think that for myself, this is the true test, because I think this is really about being able to challenge the process and being able to see this as opportunities. And how do we continue to remain committed, yet flexible and adaptable and creative, so that we're able to meet families where they're at in order to be able to get them to where we need them to be.
So thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. If you ever have a chance to meet her, she's got an enthusiastic personality, quite contagious, quite a wonderful leader. Appreciate her work and appreciate her words as she's seen the value of this particular curriculum in our Head Start community. Let me just take a few moments before we wrap up and answer a few questions that have come in through the chat. First off, the cost of the training. Our trainings do run $629 per person if you're within the Western region. They run $699 for non-Region 9 members. That's per person. And of course, that includes both the workshop and all the materials that are referenced. As well as the trainings are offered, as we say, either on a scheduled basis. We call them public workshops. So we have a February workshop that we're offering, which has filled, and filled for us is 36 people at a time. That way the course is one which permits enough time for a lot of that discussion and getting to know you, as well as sharing. And then with that course being full, we'll be rotating to a March workshop. The dates for the March workshop are tentative, but they'll be securing this week, and that's March 2nd and 3rd, and then March 9 and 10, and that's 1 to 3 Pacific Standard Time. So if you're on the East Coast, that'll be a little bit later for you. And then lastly, how long is the course? And as we show here on the screen, the course is essentially in the virtual environment 4 meeting dates: the 1st, the 2nd and 3rd of March, the 9th and 10th. So it's over a 2-week period. And then in addition to that, there is expectations of homework between the 2nd and 3rd and the 9th and 10th, as well as the pre-work and then the post-work coaching that we strongly encourage you to take advantage of. What we know is that there is a certain amount of material that we go through relatively quickly to ensure you understand the framework, you understand the LPI, but then the last part, the action planning, the creating the agenda, the working with your supervisor and so forth, really takes some time to unpack. So we make ourselves available to do those coaching calls after the workshop is complete. So it's an ongoing relationship. So let me go ahead and double check. I think those are all of the questions that are mentioned there. So we have one other: are there any scholarship available? We do not offer scholarships for this course because most of the attendees do come through Head Start agencies. If you are seeking attendance outside your Head Start agency budget, then contact us directly and we will see if there is a source for additional funds. That's not something we've done, but something we certainly are open to exploring with you depending on your situation. So again, let me just wrap up by thanking everybody who joined us. The February workshop is listed on the website in terms of the dates. So if you're enrolled in that, check our website for the dates, which are, I believe, the 2nd and 3rd and 9th and 10th, but they are early in the day. And if you have any additional questions, my email, I'll offer that to you, is econdon, that's ECONDON, at region9hsa.org, econdon@region9hsa.org. So feel free to shoot me an email. Thanks for joining us today, and the best of luck in your leadership journey. Have a great afternoon.